I think it was a Tuesday, and I was having one of them mad stressful blue days. I was on my way back from work listening to Alicia Keys' A Woman's Worth, and I beheld this girl. Immediately, she had me under a spell. Coincidentally, The Way You Make Me Feel was the next track, and unusually, shivers started to trickle down my back. It was quite peculiar now that I think of it. I was strolling down the road, and all of a sudden I was in sync with it being a sick desire to retire to this girl. I'd acquired this lust for a harmful kind of fire, and what I hadn't realised was my passion for God started to tire. Instead of going higher and higher, I started getting deeper and deeper. Help, help, the quicksand is making me weaker. Sorry, my bad. Let me start from the top. So, the day was bad and the issues refused to stop. And this girl, with mad beauty like pearls, she passed me by, flicked her hair and waved me a hi. Infatuated by her beauty, my problems just faded. In the light of this cutie, I saw something and so craved it. She had this red backless dress which hugged her slender sculptured figure. Her aura spelt finesse, and her shape would make Beyonce bitter. Black 6-inch heels enhanced the appeal of her long, strong, shapely legs. I could feel my body changing as the scenes in my head grew more and more intense. Really should have switched on the traction control, because she was maxing my temperature and taxing my soul. A dark-skinned girl, mix of mahogany and gold, and her complexion was smooth like velvet, and her aroma was like heaven had been melted. Her succulent lips were so temptingly full and soft. They sat perfectly on her face with just the right touch of lip gloss. She had long luscious hair which gloated, and the way she moved was as if she floated on water. I caught her eye, and then things became real awkward. I looked at her. She looked at me. You could probably hear paper being blown by the breeze or birds tweeting in the heights of the trees, and finally she said, "Hey, this party's going down and I don't have a date." I frowned at her forwardness, but then she said, "Please, just as a mate." I thought, how bad can it be? And maybe it would help my stress be relieved, so we swapped details and arranged where to meet. Went home to fix up my visage, got out my best garments. I needed to look suave, but something told me what I was doing wasn't smart. I dismissed it, telling myself my mind's playing games. Besides, I'm going with this girl and her looks are insane. So, I met her at the party, but it wasn't my taste, so I could hardly wait to depart and make haste. But for some reason, I couldn't up and leave. It was like I was stuck in some close woven weave. Please understand, I need to go. I have work at home, but she teased, "Don't go. I want to be with you alone." She flashed me them hazel puppy eyes. These were the kind that would make even Denzel Washington have to look twice. So obviously I couldn't refuse. Besides, they just put on some rhythm and blues. So we hit up the dance floor, and this girl could move. She knew how to use them assets, and I was really getting in the groove. Then she said, "Hey, can we get a drink, or maybe even two?" So we got to the bar and she ordered a Malibu. I had to get water because I was broke and it was free. So, then she turned to me and said, "Hey, can we talk privately?" In my heart, I thought, "Raw, I'm moving way too fast," but my head thought, "Yes, this is going to be a blast." So she took me upstairs, and I looked around as people just stared. It was really eerie, like this icy fear steering down my spine. A chilling breeze made me start losing my mind. Everyone had this blank look written on their expression. In the film, this is where you shout, "Hey, if you go with that girl, you're going to get taught to less than accept." This wasn't a horror movie, this was the real deal. And in my heart, I already made an appeal. "God, I'm sorry for drifting from your direction. Save me. Take me back to your presence." But I heard no voice, no reply, just a sound of random ravers screaming enjoyable cries. I wondered where she took me, still trying to object, but my feet kept on carrying me. I couldn't reject. It was like something was installing, and I couldn't detect the software it was coming from. I just couldn't disconnect. She touched my upper groin. I was quick and abrupt, but before I could react, I felt adrenaline erupt. Looked into the darkness of her eyes, and I saw evil rise and cloud out the beauty which I now knew were lies. What I hadn't realized before was her beauty was only skin deep, and at this point in time, I was like a lost sheep. "God, you said you won't sleep until I return to your flock. So don't stop. Move me from this girl, this sickle cell who disguised herself in young and vibrant like a graceful gazelle." I saw her beauty become repulsive, and I tried to escape. It was like I was bolted with reinforced steel. The result was me seeing more of her revolting body altering. Her slender figure was now beastly and hench, and her grip on my hand was like this modified wrench. A nasty stench started to rise, and now her eyes were totally dark. This was even worse than the mouth of a shark. Her succulent lips were no longer appealing, and my belief to escape started receding. No less when her red dress was now like thick liquid blood. Someone help me, because I'm stuck in the mud. Her mahogany skin was now burnt like ashes, and there were slashes and gashes all over her body. The hand she led me by was like sticky melted tarmac. Breathing became so hard that it felt like my lungs and heart had collapsed. My temperature rose dramatically and I smelled smoke, which gradually started relaxing the body, which was frantically battling to stay up. I started declaring that my body should wake up, but refused to respond and plunged me even deeper into this bottomless pond. My knees became weak, my speech became slurred. I heard this white noise as my vision had become blurred. The atmosphere was thick with fear. I was encompassed in it. God, where are you? You said you'd be there. You said you'd be there. She led me like a lamb to be slaughtered. I couldn't think straight. My thoughts had become thwarted. She flung open the bedroom door, threw me against the wall, pressed her beastly body close to mine. I tried to crawl for the hall. I cried out loud, but a crowd gathered round and assisted her in pinning me down. At this point, I was struggling to get off the ground. She climbed on top of me, looking so proud of her evil works. She smirked and I was completely restrained. I tried to break free, but my body was strained. I gave one more cry to the Lord of my life, shut my eyes, hoping when I opened I'd find that this girl and her friends would be totally confined. And all of a sudden I felt the light of Christ shine and remove them from my body, arms, legs, head and thighs. I looked around, but she was nowhere to be found, only the hand of a humble man standing by my side. He held me up and strength returned like a tide. He ushered me into these heavenly grounds where a legion of angels were cheering, and appearing from the midst of this region was the open arms of a dad, looking more happy than mad. Looking back now, I see she scaled my vision, but by giving her attention, I gave her my permission. I didn't listen to what God was saying, but even then He made provision, which is love and grace, because that is His mission. This was my encounter with a voluptuous lady who made my mind go crazy, but ultimately, she was a wolf who decided to dress up as a sheep. However, if I looked closely at the material, I would have seen that it was cheap. This girl is my interpretation of the world, which is seductive and tries to compel us from where we're supposed to dwell in the heavenly realms. So I say to you, resist the world's kiss, and furthermore, don't eclipse the love of the Father, the Son, or the Holy Spirit. Thank you.